Good evening. Our top story tonight, Dawson Knox is on injured reserve, which means it is officially Dalton Kincaid season. But he's not the only tight end that's set to break out. No, no, no. Trey McBride set to break out as well. Zach Ertz also on injured reserve. He's got a quad injury. We expect Dawson Knox to miss more time. But Dalton Kincaid's less likely to be on your waiver wire, whereas Trey McBride is probably almost certainly available, except in those deep dynasty leagues. But we've got that. We've got injury updates on all of these teams across the NFL. Some of them good, some of them bad. We've got word on the trade deadline and more on Player Profiler today. Starting things off with Dawson Knox and Dalton Kincaid. Yes, it is unfortunate. This is bad news for the Buffalo Bills. Obviously, losing talent is not a good thing. And the Buffalo Bills have become a two tight end offense this year. It's pretty much been an equal split between Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox. They've both been starters. This has been a two tight end offense. And so, yes, Dalton Kincaid, he is a winner. But so is Khalil Shakir. Khalil Shakir going to be playing more. They're going to be doing more three wide receiver sets. So that's another sneaky winner from this injury. But Dawson Knox undergoing wrist surgery. And we don't know how long he's going to be out for. He's on IR. So he's going to miss at least 4 games. Actually, I don't think they've put him on IR officially yet. Still haven't put him on IR. We expect him to go on injured reserve. All the stuff that I'm reading says, okay, probably going to be out 4 to 6 weeks. Maybe a little bit longer because the Buffalo Bills are in it for the long haul. They're pushing for a Super Bowl despite losing to the Patriots, but they are still pushing for a Super Bowl. So maybe they let him heal up just a little bit more, but we're going to have to wait and see how do the Buffalo Bills recover from their start so far. Yes, of course, we think that they do. They get a chance to do it against the Buccaneers on Thursday Night Football, but we'll see where they are and how much they have to rush Dawson Knox back. But in the meantime, Dalton Kincaid goes off for a career game already. So if it made it even less likely you're going to get Dalton Kincaid, everyone is in on Dalton Kincaid at this point. Catches all 8 of his targets, goes for 75 yards. Those are all career highs, including the 15.5 PPR points that he scored, which was tight end 7 this week, just behind Kelsey, Waller, Andrews, TJ Hawkinson, Dallas Goedert, and Taysom Hill. But ahead of George Kittle, ahead of Gerald Everett, and ahead of Sam Laporta. And this has been coming for a while now that Dalton Kincaid was going to have a breakout, even with Dawson Knox on the field. We saw in week 4 for the first time, Dalton Kincaid outsnapped Dawson Knox. Then week 5, okay, it goes back to a Dalton Kincaid as the tight end 2, but he was injured. He gets injured during that game. He leaves with a concussion. So that's kind of skewed. He doesn't play week 5 or week 6. So that doesn't really count either. Back to week 7. And it's once again a 50-50 split. 43 snaps for Dalton Kincaid and 45 for Dawson Knox. But the big difference here is the routes run. 33 routes run for Dalton Kincaid to just 24 for Dawson Knox. So even without the injury, this breakout that we're about to see and we kind of just saw was already coming. And you look at the box score and it's fine. 27 targets, that's 19th. 25 receptions, that's 10th among tight ends. That's pretty impressive for a starter, but still not a full-time player. Yes, they are starting 2 tight ends, but both of them are playing 60-70% of the snaps instead of 90 like Dawson Knox played last year and like Dalton Kincaid will play going forward. So that 193 receiving yards, 19th in the NFL, that's going to go up. And the 0 touchdown scored, obviously that is going to go up. And part of that is what we've seen from Dalton Kincaid when Dawson Knox is not on the field. And obviously, this isn't a massive sample size. Again, they're both playing a lot of snaps. They're playing together plenty. But when Dawson Knox is not on the field, we are seeing a 21% target share for Dalton Kincaid. That would be 5th at the tight end position behind Travis Kelce, obviously, Mark Andrews, obviously, Darren Waller, and Evan Engram. Sneaky Evan Engram. But that'd be ahead of TJ Hawkinson. That'd be ahead of Sam Laporta, Zach Ertz, who also going on IR. We'll get to him in a little bit. And Kyle Pitts. So 13.2% target share for Dalton Kincaid regularly. but that jumps massively, 21% without Dawson Knox on the field. And he's getting accurate balls. Number 1 in target accuracy among all tight ends, a 100% true catch rate, no drops from Dalton Kincaid. He has the hands, he has the ability to separate. Josh Allen is beginning to trust him, and that's something that Josh Allen needs anyways. He needs to take more advantage of his safety blanket underneath. He needs to stop being such a gunslinger to the point that it is turning the ball over, causing interceptions. If he can get Dalton Kincaid going underneath, then that will open things back up over the top, make things easier for Stephon Diggs, for Gabe Davis. So getting Dalton Kincaid more involved in the offense, it's going to happen, and it's going to be a really, really good thing for the Buffalo Bills, and it's going to be even better thing in fantasy football. At this point, give me Travis Kelce, give me Mark Andrews, give me TJ Hawkinson, give me Sam Laporta, and then after that, Darren Waller would be the next tight end for me. And that kind of depends for me if Tyrod Taylor's the quarterback or if it's Daniel Jones. If Daniel Jones is the quarterback, I kind of lean Dalton Kincaid. But if Tyrod Taylor's the quarterback, give me Darren Waller. So at worst, he's the tight end 6 at this point. I'm taking him ahead of Evan Engram. I'm taking him ahead of Kyle Pitts, Michael Mayer. So give me Dalton Kincaid. Rest of the way, he is a locked and loaded starter, at least while Dawson Knox is out. But even once Dawson Knox returns, he's already going to be established in this offense. Things are only going to get better from Dalton Kincaid after this little mini breakout. Before we get to the next player that's about to break out, we've got a word from the Podfather.
This episode brought to you by Mojo. Mojo is that player stock market. We love Mojo because we like making lifetime bets on players. You run out the clock on these guys. Mojo just rolled out a brand new fantasy platform. That's right. So now you can build a portfolio of player props. Oh, Jamar Chase, over 77.5. Oh, Kadarius Toney, under 15.5. Whatever the under is on Kadarius Toney, doesn't matter. You can just stack up the props in your portfolio. And the beauty is, once the Sunday games kick off, it's not over. It's not over until it's over with Mojo, because once those games kick off, you can then move in and out of positions. Let's say that you're well ahead of expectations. You can cash out. Let's say you're behind expectations. You're underwater. Well, you can double down. That's what makes Mojo so special, why they're different. Check it out. Go to the App Store, get the Mojo app, and use the promo code Underworld. The promo code Underworld gets you a 100% deposit match up to $100. So the promo code is Underworld, and they will match your deposit dollar for dollar. Go to Mojo, start building your portfolio, and then during the games, you can be a fantasy day trader. Woo. Now, I know many of you are looking for a secret weapon for your Dynasty League, and I have it. It's called the Dynasty Dominator app. You go to the App Store, go to Google Play. It's right there. It's $5 to download, and then every year it's $5 to load the next incoming class of rookies. You can add superflex, add tight end premium. It's incredible because it allows you to look up players. It allows you to vote on whether a player is a buy, hold, or sell, and then see the market sentiment on that player. And you can compare their lifetime value rating from PlayerProfiler to their Dynasty ADP at the FFPC, all in the price lookup tool. And beyond that, we have a trade analyzer, so you'll never lose another Dynasty trade again. And in our settings, you can set this is a win now team, this is a rebuilding team, and then we let you compare players. Look at their metrics side by side, prospect metrics, NFL metrics. It's all there. It's $5 in the App Store. There's some add-ons for Superflex and to buy the upcoming rookie class. Every year, you're going to spend $5 on this thing, and it's going to be well worth it.
Back to the show, and it's not just Dalton Kincaid that is going to be taking advantage of an injury to a tight end that is a veteran, that is a starter. We've also got Zach Ertz now on injured reserve. He's going to miss at least 4 games with a quad strain. There were talks already that Zach Ertz should be traded from the Arizona Cardinals to free Trey McBride anyways, because Trey McBride is the real deal. Trey McBride, you look at the box score, and obviously it's nothing impressive, but that's because he's the tight end 2 behind Zach Ertz, who is given the veteran deference. Of course, Zach Ertz is going to be the starter. Of course, that's going to happen. But that makes the box score unimpressive. 21 targets, that's 29th. 15 receptions, that's 27th. 170 yards, that's 23rd. The tight end, 43 in PPR. That is nothing. That is absolutely nothing. But that's not why you follow and listen to Player Profiler. You come to us for the advanced metrics, and the advanced metrics on Trey McBride are ridiculous. Number 2 in yards per route run. Number 7 in target rate. So when Trey McBride is on the field, he's being targeted almost 22% of the time. That is more than the amount of target share that Dalton Kincaid is getting when Dawson Knox is not on the field. The problem is Trey McBride obviously not playing a lot of snaps, but the target rate, number 7 in the NFL, almost 22%, that is going to go up. Not the target rate, the target share is going to go up because the snaps are going to go up. And we already see he is efficient. Number 2 in yards per route run. Number 8 in yards per target. Number 9 in yards per reception. Trey McBride is just quietly producing, extremely efficient at the tight end position. He just hasn't had the chance to show it. Number 5 in production premium. Trey McBride is the real deal, and he's competing with Jeff Swaim, who's just a pure blocking tight end. Doesn't matter at this point. Competing against Elijah Higgins, a college wide receiver last year who converted to tight end this year. He's going to need a lot more seasoning. And then Blake Whiteheart signed off the practice squad. Those are the tight ends that Trey McBride is now competing with. Trey McBride, much like Dalton Kincaid, he's going to be playing over 90% of the snaps, and he is going to be an asset in fantasy football. And of course, Dalton Kincaid probably not available. He's probably already off of waivers. If you can get him, go do it. But for now, if Trey McBride is available, because he almost certainly is, he's rostered in less than 2% of redraft leagues on ESPN, go get Trey McBride. Speaking of the Cardinals, they also released starting safety Kayvon Wallace, made 5 starts for the team this season, over 80% of the defensive snaps. And then he just gets cut, came over from the Eagles with Jonathan Gannon. I did not see this one coming. This one surprised me, but here we are. Would you trade Josh Downs for Waller or Kincaid? My tight end situation is a disaster. Musgrave and Mayer right now. Well, I do like Musgrave and Mayer, and I do believe that it's going to happen for both of those players. I think it's going to be Musgrave first and then Michael Mayer, but both of them are going to break out. Like I said earlier, with Tyrod Taylor, I'm going Darren Waller over Dalton Kincaid. Without Tyrod Taylor, with Daniel Jones as the starting quarterback, then I'm starting Dalton Kincaid. However, it's going to be 4 to 6 weeks, right? That Dalton Kincaid is the starter. That's what we're expecting, because we're expecting Dawson Knox to go on IR. So I think in the short term, next 4 to 6 weeks, it's Dalton Kincaid. I think you make that trade. Darren Waller has me a little bit more worried, because at some point Daniel Jones is going to come back to tanking him. And Player Profiler at an on-field top speed metric. I feel like some of these players are fast. Ooh, that is interesting. Bobo especially. Jake Bobo got absolutely sewered at his pro day running in a monsoon. He never should have ran. His agent should have told him, don't run. Instead, he almost runs a 540 as a wide receiver. It's unfair to him. It was a poor business decision, and it's unfair that is reflected on the website. So that is something I will bring up to the powers that be. But moving on and moving back to the rest of the injury report, Buffalo Bills, obviously they're going to be without Dawson Knox this week. Might be without their tight end number 3, Quinton Morris, as well. He hasn't practiced this week with an ankle injury, whereas Josh Allen, he's practicing in full. He's got the shoulder injury. We don't know what it is. Got a shoulder injury, but he's practicing in full. Not worried about it. Baker Mayfield all of a sudden has a knee injury. He popped up on the injury report yesterday. Didn't practice, but there obviously wasn't a practice because it's a Monday, but they play on Thursday, so they have to put out a practice report. So Baker Mayfield wouldn't have practiced yesterday. He would have been limited today. He's limited today in walkthrough. Expect Baker Mayfield to play. If he's limited today, he's probably going to be limited or full tomorrow. It's a short week. Baker Mayfield probably going to be playing. Something to keep an eye on, though, that Baker Mayfield dealing with a knee injury, but maybe it's like Trevor Lawrence. Maybe he just puts on the knee brace and he is fine. Chris Godwin also didn't practice yesterday on the estimated report. He's limited today with a neck injury, but until we get tomorrow's practice report, I'm not going to panic. I'm not going to worry about it. I expect Baker Mayfield to play. Expect Chris Godwin to play. Chase Edmonds might be playing for the Buccaneers too. He might be coming off of injured reserve. He is practicing in full, so it looks like we are going to be getting the return. No need to apologize, my friend. Big Country, always a better show when you can tune in live. Always a pleasure to have you here on the show. back to the injury report. Good news for Jalen Hurts. He is dealing with a knee injury. He puts on a knee brace during the game, but apparently this is something that's bothered him throughout the season in the past. I don't know how long Jalen Hurts has been actually dealing with this, but by all accounts, not affecting him long term. Maybe it's a torn meniscus and he hasn't missed any practice time with it. Maybe it's a bruise. I don't know. NFL is probably going to look into this. The fact that Jalen Hurts is claiming that this has been an ongoing issue and it's not affecting him and he's going to be fine. Because the NFL is investigating Bijan Robinson. Bijan Robinson not feeling well on Sunday, so he barely plays. But the problem with that is he actually started not feeling well on Saturday night. And the NFL gives you a chance on Sunday to update the status of players. So the Falcons should have put out a statement, Bijan Robinson, illness, questionable. And then he plays and it's all fine. But the Falcons have a duty to report that. The NFL requires that they report that. The fact that the illness, the migraines for Bijan Robinson came in on Saturday night, expect to see a little bit of a fine. It's not going to be a big deal. This is the Falcons' first issue with not reporting an injury, so I'm not expecting it to have any long-term consequences. Just probably a little bit slap on the wrist fine there, and it's going to be good to go. Something to watch out for, though. Bijan Robinson, whether it was a migraine that he has had in the past, this is an ongoing issue, something that hampered Percy Harvin for many years in the NFL, or maybe he just had a really bad headache. He had a migraine, an acute migraine, so I don't know. Either way, keep an eye out for Bijan Robinson, but the good news is we expect him to be back in full going forward. Good evening to Applied Literature. Always a pleasure when you can tune in, my friend. So happy that you are here, and happy to report that Juwan Johnson is set to return for Week 8. He has been out for an extended period of time. He's been dealing with a calf injury. Juwan Johnson was expected to break out this season. We had high hopes for Juwan Johnson that with the improving offense with Derek Carr, Juwan Johnson had a strong summer that he could break out. And then Derek Carr gets injured and doesn't play well. Juwan Johnson doesn't play well. So it's just been a mess. But Juwan Johnson set to return. Juwan Johnson, who Senior Football. Sorry, I thought I saw Harry Snowman in the chat. Harry Snowman and I did have Juwan Johnson on a roster together, and then we dropped him because he's been injured. Hello to Senior Football, though. Always a pleasure when you can tune in, my friend. Happy to have you here. Jaylen Waddle left the game early, returned to the game. He's dealing with a back or a rib or something. He was just kind of waddling on the sidelines. He wasn't moving well. We won't have an update until tomorrow, though, what's going on with Jaylen Waddle. We'll know when we get the practice report what's actually going on with him. Just like we'll have another update on Deshaun Watson, but I do not expect to see Deshaun Watson this week. The Cleveland Browns are protecting him. Interesting way to phrase that, but they're protecting Deshaun Watson. They've also said he's going to start this week, but then the next day they say he's day-to-day with a shoulder injury, and you know what day-to-day means. It means week-to-week. So Deshaun Watson, not going to play this weekend. He takes a hard hit. They put PJ Walker in the game for him, and now Deshaun Watson probably going to miss yet another week. Asked if he's going to go on injured reserve, Kevin Stefanski won't comment, just kind of avoids it, says he's getting better. He's a competitive kid. He's working really hard. Is asked, but IR, is he going to go on IR? I wouldn't say that for any player, really. You wouldn't say that for any player, even players you are putting on injured reserve? I don't know. Kevin Stefanski just being a little bit silly here. Jerome Ford also dealing with a low-grade ankle sprain. Low-grade high ankle sprain. We all know that there is no low-grade high ankle sprain. A high ankle sprain is a 4-week injury. Jerome Ford going to be dealing with this for the next couple weeks. Jerome Ford, he's out this week if he's got a high ankle sprain. He's out next week. They may rush him back the week after that, so might miss 2 games, return for the 3rd game if they rush him back, but he's not going to be effective. Maybe the 4th game too. Saquon Barkley returned after 4 games, but he wasn't as effective. So Jerome Ford, over the next 4 weeks, expect him to miss those 4 games, and if he returns early, expect a drop in performance. In the meantime, though, when Jerome Ford goes down, it is the Pierre Strong show, at least in terms of actually playing. Pierre Strong, 63% of the snaps. Kareem Hunt, 34% of the snaps. Kareem Hunt also dealing with injuries of his own. 8 carries for Pierre Strong, 5 for Kareem Hunt. That's a little bit closer, but Pierre Strong is going to be the lead back for the Cleveland Browns. They have figured out we cannot put a massive workload on Kareem Hunt. So Pierre Strong probably getting 60, 70%. where 30-40% goes to Kareem Hunt, like we have seen year after year and game after game with Kareem Hunt. He's just a part-time player. High ankle F, as the Podfather would say. Absolutely. There is no minor high ankle. Add Trey McBride or Taysom Hill. Give me Trey McBride over Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill, as Derek Carr gets healthier, will be phased out a little bit of this offense. He's still going to have a role. He's still going to have spike weeks. Still going to have massive spike weeks because of the touchdown upside. But Trey McBride is going to be more consistent part of his offense. And the Arizona Cardinals are number 3 in the NFL, I believe. No, 4. Sorry. They're number 4 in the NFL in targets to the tight end position. Number 1 is obviously the Kansas City Chiefs, Travis Kelce. Vikings are up there as well, TJ Hawkinson. And then the Falcons, because the Falcons are actually targeting Kyle Pitts at a decent rate. And they're targeting Jonnu Smith quite a bit. So give me Trey McBride over Taysom Hill, absolutely. Should I drop Roschon Johnson or Tank Dell for Josh Downs or stay put in non-PPR? Ooh, I think I still love Roschon Johnson. I expect him to return this week, but now he's going to be in a committee with Dante Foreman because Dante Foreman shows out. I don't want to say drop Roschon for Josh, and Tank Dell is the 1B wide receiver, but I guess so is Josh Downs. So I think you can drop both for Josh Downs. I'd go with Roschon over Tank Dell, though, if you have the running back depth, but it pains me to say so. If you don't have running back depth, don't do it. Appreciate that. Seems like people are ready to prioritize Hill after Kincaid in front of guys like Njoku and McBride. Yeah, people love Taysom Hill because of the spike week, but again, the spike week is because Derek Carr is injured. Derek Carr is dinking and dunking it down, and they also didn't use Jamal Williams. Some of those touchdowns are going to go to Jamal Williams as well. Taysom Hill not going to be a consistent part of this offense. Big spike weeks, massive spike week potential, better in a best ball type player. Back to the injury report, we've got some other updates. Ryan Tannehill doesn't practice. Ryan Tannehill dealing with a high ankle sprain. Ryan Tannehill should be on injured reserve. Ryan Tannehill should miss 4 games, maybe even more because he had the high ankle injury last year that he had surgery for. And now we're hearing to anticipate both Malik Willis and Will Levis to be playing, which is terrifying. 2 quarterback systems never work. Bad idea for the Tennessee Titans. But at the same point, Tennessee Titans are tanking. Tennessee Titans are already trading away pieces. We'll get to that in just a little bit. But Tennessee Titans, Ryan Tannehill, he should go on injured reserve. We'll see a little bit of Malik Willis, a little bit of Will Levis. And they might be throwing to Treylon Burks. Treylon Burks was practicing during the bye week, so that is good to hear. Not so good to hear Aaron Rodgers starting to grow frustrated with his recovery. And obviously, this is part of the process. And Rodgers admits that. He knows this is part of the process. He's just growing frustrated because the part of the recovery process he is in isn't as quick as the progress he was making earlier. And that's just the way it goes sometimes. That's the way that injury recovery happens. It's hard to recover from an Achilles tear. That's why it takes so long for so many players. He still has a limp. He doesn't have the strength in his calf yet to not limp. So he's getting better. But Aaron Rodgers is human, even if he might not think he's a human. Aaron Rodgers is a human. He's on human recovery timelines, even at the best, most optimistic scenario. 5 months from September. Remember, basically 6. It was 5 months and 28 days for Cam Akers. So September, October, November, December, January, February, March. So even the most optimistic put him back, coming back in March, and the Jets aren't going to be playing in March. No one will be. Jets won't be playing in February because that's the Super Bowl. So that would mean he's coming back in January, which means 4 to 5 months or 4 months, 3 months after. That's just not going to work. Not going to happen. So I'm sorry, Aaron Rodgers, but he is not coming back this year. Other injuries around the NFL, Uchenna Nwosu is out for the season. He tore his pectoral muscle for the Seattle Seahawks. He's been having a hell of a year. He is out. Chiefs also lost linebacker Nick Bolton. He's going to miss some time with a dislocated wrist. Not a season-ending injury, it doesn't sound like, but probably 4 to 6 weeks. Actually, I think they were saying for his type of surgery, Nick Bolton might be out up to 2 months, but he still could return for the playoffs, unlike Aaron Rodgers. Other news around the NFL, Miami Dolphins are going to be the in-season team for Hard Knocks, and this is a fantastic decision because everyone on earth, even if you don't like football, you're going to like Mike McDaniel. So this was a fantastic decision by Hard Knocks. Good on the Miami Dolphins for going out there and getting that exposure. Mike McDaniel, just the more Mike McDaniel content, the better. We had some arrests last night. Chris Olave arrested going 70 in a 35. He is cited with reckless driving. He's being released. Don't know if we'll see a suspension. We didn't see a suspension for Jordan Addison, and he was going much faster. So it feels like this is just something that's going to go fly under the radar for Chris Olave. I'm not worried. Whereas Justyn Ross was originally charged with felony damage. Damage exceeding $25,000 is a felony in the state of Kansas. That has been dropped down to 2 misdemeanor charges in lieu of the original felony. He is now charged with misdemeanor domestic violence and misdemeanor property damage. The misdemeanor domestic violence tells me that there will be a suspension incoming. The NFL is trying to be stricter on their domestic violence policy. 6 games is what the CBA says. We'll see what ends up happening here. They may allow the court process to play out anyways, but Justyn Ross could be facing a suspension for his arrest yesterday. I don't think the same for Chris Olave. Other news around the NFL, Marvin Jones has been released by the Lions. He has announced that he was stepping away from the team. He's focusing on some family matters, so we're sending all of our love to Marvin Jones and his family. We hope everything works out the best that it can. In the meantime, part of his deal with stepping away from the Lions is that he is going to be released. So Marvin Jones, we wish him the best of luck with his next steps and what's going to be going on in the future for him. Kareem Jackson has been suspended for the Houston Texans. He's going to be suspended 4 games for multiple personal fouls. Once again, he delivers a helmet-to-helmet hit, this time on Luke Musgrave. And this is the longest player suspension for safety that we've seen since Myles Garrett, who got 6 games for swinging the helmet on Mason Rudolph. Before that, it was Vontaze Burfict with 12 games for all of the stuff that Vontaze Burfict did with the helmet to helmet over and over and over again. Other news around the NFL, Bill Belichick has reportedly signed a new contract, but apparently that actually came in the offseason. Ian Rappaport announces it on NFL pregame on Sunday, makes it sound like this is something that happened recently. And I guess it is, but it was at some point in the offseason. So while the rumors about Bill Belichick being fired continuing to swirl, it initially sounded like, okay, well, he got a contract extension. He's not going to be fired. Now it's sounding once again like he might be, but then he goes out and beats the Bills. So Bill Belichick might not be fired after all. We're going to wait and see what ends up happening with him. Patriots waived Malik Cunningham. They're hoping he will return to the practice squad if he clears waivers, but you never know who's going to claim Malik Cunningham, dual threat quarterback, wide receiver. Finally, our final news and notes around the NFL, of course, is the trade deadline, the NFL trade deadline coming up on Halloween, October 31st, which is Tuesday. They're going to let all the teams play Thursday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Trade deadline at 4 o'clock. We're already seeing moves made, and don't expect to see moves made by the Dallas Cowboys. At least they're not going to be calling teams about making moves. They have said that they like their team now. They are happy with it. They're fine with buying at the trade deadline if a team calls them and says, hey, we've got a piece. You interested? Well, the Cowboys aren't going to be picking up the phone. I find that hard to believe, knowing Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones gets FOMO about missing out of deals, so I think Jerry Jones is lying to us here. Don't expect the Cowboys to make a move. Haven't heard their name called a whole bunch, but maybe it happens. Speaking of the NFC East, the Commanders have Chase Young and Montez Sweat. Both are going to be free agents. Both have been hearing their names in trade circles. Neither have started negotiating with the Washington Commanders. That is a bad sign, at least for one of them being traded. It's not a bad sign in the long term. I'm not worried about it, but Chase Young, Montez Sweat, one of them is going to get paid by the Commanders. One of them probably going to be traded. In 1QB 0.5 PPR Dynasty, should I trade Hawkinson for an early second and Tank Dell? I have Kincaid and Josh Allen for the stack. Stroud on taxi. Thinking could get value for Hawk while I can. Yeah, I'm quite into that, especially in 0.5 PPR. The fact that it's not tight end premium. I love Tank Dell. Tank Dell is a second round pick. You're also getting an early second round pick. Tank Dell might play his way up to first round pick value. So, yeah, I can do that trade for TJ Hawkinson, especially if you have Dalton Kincaid in Dynasty. Final news about the Commanders. Ron Rivera, officially the most likely coach to be fired during the season, and that will come as a surprise to no one. The Commanders have been woefully disappointing ever since week 1. They had a great week 1. Since then, it has been awful. Jonathan Allen, their defensive tackle, I think he's an all-pro. He's definitely a Pro Bowler. He's not happy. He's talking about how unhappy he is when asked Oh, in the locker room. If you haven't seen it, go watch it because I can't repeat the things that Jonathan Allen said to the reporters. But he's not happy. A team that is happy, though, is the Philadelphia Eagles. The Philadelphia Eagles go out and trade for safety Kevin Byard. They go out and give their starting safety, so it's a swap of starting safeties, but it's a 5th and a 6th round pick. That's what it takes to get a multi-time All-Pro from the Tennessee Titans. This is a team in rebuild. The Eagles once again take advantage of the Tennessee Titans. Once again, get a fantastic value in a deal. Can't believe this. The Eagles looking once again like Super Bowl contenders. They go and get an All-Pro in the secondary. Replacing CJ Gardner-Johnson, Terrell Edmonds wasn't the answer. So now you get Kevin Byard. You get Reed Blankenship, who has been performing at a high level this year as well. Eagles genuinely looking like Super Bowl contenders. We were reporting that in the offseason, at least it was leaked, that maybe Derrick Henry could go to the Eagles. That obviously didn't happen. They go and get DeAndre Swift instead. So I don't think Derrick Henry is going to go to the Eagles. But Derrick Henry is going to be the next one on his way out of the Tennessee Titans. Mark my words, he's going to be traded in the next couple days.
Hey, I want to take a moment to thank you for tuning in. It's important to me that all of our media be free. This is only possible because of you allowing a true independent sports media enterprise to thrive unlike any other in the business. So please subscribe to the All In Package to continue to make all this possible, to ensure that all of our stats, information, data, content is available to you, especially you, the people that get the site and get the show.